Leathur, Rokk. Welcome to my channel. You know that's Garfield there. I got back from the hospital. I want to talk about my experience. This is my wristband. They didn't do anything for me. I went there. I checked in. The staff was nice. Don't get me wrong. One of the things I was not prepared for was how unbelievably cold it was. I understand that you got air conditioning, and it's a healthcare facility, and it's also the very end of July, and I don't have air conditioning. I've always spoken for years and years how much I wish I had air conditioning, but there is such a thing as too much of a good thing. And I didn't see a thermostat. It felt like it was like 50 degrees. Maybe I might seem like I'm exaggerating. It felt freezing. I was wearing what I'm wearing now. You know, if I slouch my shoulders, I'm more covered up. So you see, I'm wearing pants, and almost every single person that was there was wearing short sleeves. Now, when I got there, it was close to 5 o'clock in the morning, and there's only 2 people in the waiting room. So at first I thought, oh great, I'm not going to have as long a wait, because you know there's always going to be a wait, because they triage according to how serious the condition is. But I figured with very little people there, it wouldn't be much of a wait. And I was really feeling tired, because you know I was tired and needing to sleep, and you know the whole situation. And they saw me, and they took my temperature, and they took my blood pressure. Of course, I should have asked for the information. I didn't. I asked them not to weigh me, because I told them that I know that I put on weight this year, and it was because I'm not eating well, and I didn't want to know what the weight was, so they didn't weigh me. Okay, so I went. They said sit down and wait for your name to be called. And then I noticed there was this one guy that was really emotional about something, because he wanted to see his mother, and I don't know, he thought that they were giving him the runaround, and he was yelling and stuff, and I think the cops escorted him out. And then the people that were in the waiting room were seen. And then there were 3 Middle Eastern gentlemen that came in. They might have been related or something. One of them was interesting. He was wearing what looked like a taupe and white plaid sheet that was wrapped around his waist like a maxi skirt. But it seemed to be gathered right at the crotch, or for whatever reason he was walking around holding his privates, and it looked kind of disgusting actually, but you know, I mind my own business, you don't have to look at whatever. But they were mad at each other, and one guy was yelling at the others, and it was really loud, and when there's not that many people in a waiting room, you know, sound bounces, and it was really getting uncomfortable. It was hurting my ears, and maybe it was against my better judgment, but I asked them, please, don't have to yell, turn it down some, and they ignored me, as men usually do when women confront them, you know. Especially certain cultures, they're not going to take any sass from a female. And at one point, one of the men did this to me, which is basically, shut up, woman. I know, the hand signal. Now, they weren't close to me or anything. When you go into a waiting room and there's hardly anybody there, people tend to sit far away from each other to give privacy, you know. And all this time, I was cold. I just could not get comfortable, and you know, I'm going like this, and figuring maybe I might get an hour of sleep, even though you don't want to look like you're sleeping, because some people, some homeless people sometimes go and sleep in waiting rooms, and eventually they get thrown out, because if you're not there to be seen by a medical person, really, there are other places you could be waiting, like bus stations, for instance, even though they're ticketing the homeless people for doing that now. So I was dealing with them, and and they got seen, and other people sometimes trickled in off the street, and they do get their vitals and everything, and they went back down, and then their name was called, and they were brought in, and all this time I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm noticing the sun's coming up, because some of the frosted glass you could actually see, and I thought, oh my goodness, yeah, the sun came up, and I had sunblock with me, you know, I was prepared. And I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and it's over 2 hours, even though I don't carry a watch or a cell phone, as you know. So I went over to the security desk, and I mentioned something about how it was really unusually cold. I thought, well, I guess they're used to it because they work there. And again, everybody was wearing short sleeves. So I asked them if it was okay if I go outside and get some fresh air and maybe try to warm up. And when I went outside, I was looking for a place to sit down and maybe even lie down. And there was concrete. There were 3 wire chairs, like a bench, that people were already sitting in. And wire chairs are very hard unless you have a real serious amount of padding on your derriere. They're uncomfortable. And I didn't bring anything extra with me. I brought a small handbag that had a notebook, a pen, uh, and my lipstick and sunblock, and that's it. My house keys. You don't need a whole lot of stuff there. And I didn't think I'd be there too long, but they kept on seeing people, and you know. Oh, and then I saw somebody that looked like it was an employee of theirs, and so I asked him. I said, "Is there some reason why it's so cold there?" And everybody said it was because it lowers the spread of germs. Now, maybe that's true. I don't have a medical school education. I'm not going to tell somebody how to do their job, but you can have germs in cold environments and in hot environments. I don't know the difference, but anyway, he said all I had to do is ask at the front desk and they would give me a blanket. So of course I went there and I asked, and I was told by them that they didn't do that. And I said, this is really, really cold, and I emphasized that I was very tired. I hadn't slept yet. I could not sleep where I lived because we had this serious infestation of fleas, and they bit me painfully every single room I went in. I needed to sleep, and I needed to get something that would make the fleas not bite me. And I didn't know if they could even do that there because I don't know what services I could really get in the ER. Most people, I don't even think, go to ERs for things like this. They would actually go to their primary care physician or maybe a clinic or something. But I figure I have this health insurance, you might as well use it, right? So they weren't going to give me a blanket. And at this point, I was really getting frustrated. And I want to maintain my composure and everything. But I'm thinking, you know what? I'm not making any headway with these people. And I went back to the front desk and I said, how soon are you going to see me? Would it be in the next 5 minutes? Because I can't wait around in this godforsaken cold. I'm tired, I'm cold, I've got these bug bites, they're itching, and when I go home I just get pierced like fine needles on my open wounds, and it's very painful. I think anybody that was getting poked where they were already raw and bloody would be in pain. And that's not the sort of thing you can even take a painkiller for, these animals crawling on you and stuff. And they didn't seem like they cared. And I'm sure that maybe they don't know who's telling the truth or what, even though they saw, well, maybe she didn't, but the people that took my temperature and took my blood pressure, I showed them my ankles because they wanted to take a look at it. So they saw that, in fact, there was something there. Now, I don't know, maybe these mosquito bites on my arms look like junkie marks or something, and maybe that's why I got the attitude. I don't know. I would like to think that medical personnel wouldn't automatically cast judgment on people. And a lot of times people tend to be upfront about their drug use anyway because you get the best care the more honest you are. But, so when they said they weren't going to give me a blanket and they said they weren't going to see me in 5 minutes, and they keep on seeing all these people coming in, and okay, I know that there's no way by glancing at somebody to tell what they're in for and how serious their condition is, and everything has to be triaged when you go to the ER. But the waiting time I thought was unreasonable considering how cold it was. And it hadn't occurred to me to bring a wrap or something because while I know that places have air conditioning in the summertime, I didn't think it would be this cold. It was really, really freezing. I was very uncomfortable, and the combination of being cold and tired is just not a good combination. I remember that from when I lived in San Francisco. I really did not enjoy that kind of when the fog would roll in and it would just be chilly. And San Francisco say that the hottest month in summertime is actually October, if you could believe that, because you've got the bay there and the fog rolls in and it just blankets areas and you feel cold down to your bones even in the so-called summer months. It's a really interesting city, and especially if you're in the shade, it's really cold, and so even people sensitive to the sun seek out the sun just because the weather is cold and damp. I mean, it's just really weird because of where San Francisco is. So I went back home, and of course I saw one or two homeless people on the way, and of course they have problems of their own, so I don't want to bother them. It's easy to lose perspective until you remember that other people have it worse, and you don't want to seem like you're being cavalier about what their suffering is, so it's better, not to say anything. I went home and I told my mother what happened, and she was still awake. I was kind of surprised, even though her sleep schedule is off. It's like she sleeps during the daytime for the most part, and then she is up at night, and I don't know, I'm sure all the stress caused by the bug situation and the other roommate who went ballistic when he found me in his office where I was trying to get some respite from the fleas. Unfortunately, that room isn't flea free either, so that's why I wasn't able to spend any time in it, because I really did try to sleep, and it seemed to me that once I turned the light out, all of a sudden they were biting me at my ankles, even if I zip myself up in the sleeping bag. And when it's hot, as it is in this house, even you can have 3 fans going on you, and even though I took a shower so that I would feel clean. Oh yeah, the other person who lives here, he went to his office to get out his computer, and instead of stepping over my sleeping bag that happened to be unzipped, he walked on it. So I had to spray bleach cleaner on it and wipe it down, because that was a scuzzball move on his part. But when you hate somebody, you don't have to respect them, right? So I don't know what I'm going to do at this point. I have the wristband from them, but I didn't get any health care. Pest control will be here sometime Thursday afternoon, but I obviously can't sleep here during this time. If I get caught sleeping outside, I'm going to get a ticket. My mother has told me that there's no way that she can afford to pay any of my fines. Now, if I do decide to do time served, like a lot of the homeless people do here, there's a good chance that I will have the beginnings of an arrest record, and that's the last thing I want. I haven't lived to get to where I am now by having a rap sheet. I wasn't raised to run afoul of the law. I don't even jaywalk if I can help it, because in California, or at least in Los Angeles, they're very serious about ticketing, and they don't care if you're well dressed or if you're poor. And if you don't pay the fine within a month, it doubles, and I don't know even what it is now, but it's not a habit you want to get into, because even the stars were worried about getting tickets. One time when I was crossing from the in front of the Whiskey A Go Go in West Hollywood, the guitarist of Motley Crue by the name of Mick Mars, he was stopped at the light also. So people don't jaywalk unless it's a real ghetto neighborhood and you're absolutely sure no cops are around, and it's like 3 in the morning and you don't want to be standing by yourself. Like if you're a chick, you don't want to stand on a corner for obvious reasons, because people might think that you're in the vice trade. So that's all that happened. And now I got to think about, do I dare take a chance of trying to get a little shut-eye out in a public place and get a ticket? And if, say, I do get approached by a cop, do I perjure myself and give a fake name and risk getting in even more trouble? Because last I heard, it's frowned upon to get caught lying to police. But if I give a fake name, then I won't have to pay a ticket, because I'll be some Jane Doe that obviously I don't have ID under. And I can't afford to pay any fines, and nobody in my family can afford to pay them, and nobody wants a rap sheet. So this is another stress I don't need. Now my mother's got this additional stress because I'm laying it on her and she doesn't deserve it. And then again, she's saying that it's not her fault, it's my fault because I brought the cat in. I've had cats since I was like 6. While I'm not going to say a cat's never had fleas in my life, I have never had fleas get throughout a whole apartment, and where you're getting bitten when you're going from room to room, or you're standing on carpet or something, or you're in your own bed. So there's no place that I can go in this house to not be bitten. Oh, and it turns out my mother is hardly getting bitten because she's on all these heart drugs. So she says that that's probably why they don't like the taste of her blood. Meanwhile, I got these mosquito marks. I got a mosquito. Oh, where is this? Right here is a mark from, well, you can't see. This is a mark from a mosquito bite that I picked open, and when I get mosquito bites, it tends to be about 2 years before they totally fade away. So I think the paler you are, the more easily you mark up. So, I don't know where I'm going to sleep. And because I desperately need my sleep right now, I know I'm not thinking clearly. I was even toying with the idea of maybe getting something to keep me awake through Thursday afternoon. And of course, that would be the stupidest thing I could do because I would be blowing almost 23 years of being clean from drugs. It's the last thing I want to do. No, actually, let me correct that. The last thing I want to do is touch alcohol again because I think that's worse than drugs. But hard drugs, powders, are very, very dangerous nowadays because of fentanyl. And I just learned watching Fox News Channel earlier today that there's a new kind of synthetic opiate now, a new kind of fentanyl that's supposedly 100 times stronger. And 7 people already OD'd in New York City. So hard drugs are the stupidest thing to do in 2024. They really are. But I can't sleep here, and I'm not going to take any offers to sleep in any male acquaintances' houses because I just don't feel comfortable with that. Most of my friends smoke tobacco anyway, and I have some casual acquaintances, but I don't, and I don't want to use anybody. And really, most of the people I know out here seem to be homeless, so they're not going to be of much help. I don't know about any squats except where next door used to be a squat in half the duplex, but that was frequented by junkies and prostitutes, and occasionally the landlord would come over and they would bring the cops and they would raid it and stuff. So it's not the sort of scene that I want to get involved in. And because I don't really know this town all that well, except for there's things I know, but I mean, there's so much that I don't know because I'm not in certain lifestyles to know, like, for instance, where all the crack people go, where all the heroin people go. Because if you know anything about druggies, people who do one kind of drug, usually they associate with each other, and people who do a totally different drug, there are 2 different scenes. And you may be able to say hello casually to people, but as far as, like, the heroin people and the speed freak people don't necessarily really hang out much together, okay? Just like the so-called drunk punks, that's a thing, and they take pride in it. And even though sometimes they do other things too, but really the drinking alone is bad enough. So I don't know where I'm going to go. I even thought of taking, and I know this sounds really melodramatic, I thought of taking a sleeping bag, and downstairs we have 2 stairwells here. One is just where our family gets in the house, and the other one is for everybody to exit. And at the end of the stairs, there is no carpet, it's just concrete. And I was laying on wood with carpet covering it, and a plastic bag, and a sleeping bag, and every place where my bone hit, it was decidedly very uncomfortable. And if that was uncomfortable, can you imagine putting a sleeping bag and a plastic bag on top of plain hard concrete? It's not textured concrete, but still, it's concrete. And not to mention, despite not in addition to the discomfort, anybody exiting the building or entering it from that side will see me, and number one, they might wake me up thinking I'm on drugs or something. Number two, they might very well tell a certain priest who wants us to move anyway, and even though I'm sure my mother would explain the situation, but then again, why should we let these people in on our personal business? So, and my mother doesn't have any ideas, and she just reiterates that if I go and get arrested, she's not going to pay the fine. And I can understand, because you can't pay with what you don't have. And what I do should not be her responsibilities because she's an adult, and so am I. But that said, I'm running out of options because there is a shelter here the homeless people go to, but it is known for having bed bugs in it. And most of the homeless people I know will not stay there. They would rather take their chances outside under the boardwalk, dealing with the cops and the crime and the robberies and stuff like that. So I don't know where I'm going to sleep, and I don't know what I'm going to do about these bug things, but I know one thing for sure. The hospital was called Atlantic here. It used to be called Atlantic City Hospital. I happened to be born there. My brother was born there. My father died there. It's my mother's preferred hospital because it's close by. And she's always had good experiences there. And the employees there were always nice. But maybe one of you watching me who is in the healthcare field can tell me why hospital would have to be refrigerated that extremely cold. And it's not like I saw any signs saying, if you're going to come here, please bring a wrap with you. It hadn't occurred to me it would be that cold. So I gave up and I left. And now I'm going to tell you guys, if I'm on my death's door, take me to any hospital except that one. When they say seconds count, like if you're having a stroke or something, I said, oh well, I guess I'll have to drop dead then, because I don't want to go there ever again. So yeah, that was a big waste of time. And I feel practically delirious. I need my sleep, and I can't sleep here. And if I go outside, not only do I have to fear the cops and the tickets, but the sun already came up. I can't be in the sun. I have measly SPF 50 on, and I didn't even put it on my arms. I only put it on my face. I would have to, cover all exposed skin. And you're supposed to reapply it every 2 hours when you're out in the sun for extended periods of time. Obviously, when you're sleeping, you can't do that. So I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but I do know that I don't want to break almost 23 years of being clean. That would be a hell of a waste. I would be so deeply ashamed. But my insurance is not helping me any. And again, I don't know what I'm going to do. Oh, I did ask a question. You'll probably get a laugh out of this. And I told him, I was hoping to keep a straight face. I said, is there any chance I could get a cat flea collar and wear it around my neck, assuming I could get one big enough? Would that stop the fleas from getting on me? And they said no. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, they should know. They're doctors and nurses and stuff. But I'm thinking, why wouldn't it work on a human? If the fleas would be planning on biting you, and if it's helping this cat or this dog, why wouldn't it hurt a human? Especially considering I weigh a hell of a lot more than a dog or cat. It's not like I would be giving a higher dose of a poison. They have doses based on the weight of the animal. So, but if I thought that it would be as easy as getting a couple of collars and wearing them, I would try it. I noticed all the DEET mosquito repellents and things. They say don't spray underneath your fabrics and to wash it off as soon as you get in the house. So they're not even intended for indoor use. Spraying a little bit on my bed, my mattress did not do diddly. I don't know what I'm going to do. But the hospital ER thing was a total waste of time. I never had substandard health care or lack of health care any place the way I have done in the state of New Jersey. If you guys ever need a health care, go to a sanctuary city. Go to a place like San Francisco or Los Angeles. They need to have enough facilities to take care of homeless people, all these illegal aliens, and the general populace. And a lot of times they're teaching hospitals that you get the best care because the students are learning, and there's nothing quite like the real hospital setting. And when my mother, she has some experience being in teaching hospitals. I believe Temple University in Philadelphia has a teaching hospital, and they have Cooper. They have so many good hospitals for heart disease and for cancer. Their specialties. She would go to Philly to take my father in for treatment when he had his lung cancer diagnosis, and then of course he got the pancreatic cancer. Usually when you get cancer in the pancreas, it's game over. And it was. But yeah, healthcare really is shitty around here. I don't know what I'm going to do with this. I will obviously wait for the pest control, but now I'm hearing that that's not a one and done thing because of the life cycle of the fleas. And now both my mother and the other person are blaming me for bringing a cat. What is he, Tabby Boy? I mean, did I call him Tabby Boy? Oh, that's terrible. I shouldn't have said that. This is Garfield. I didn't mean to call you Tabby Boy. This is my Garfield. He's such a pretty boy. And I've been picking fleas off of him around his face, around his eyes, around his mouth. He's got larvae stuck in his skin, like wiggling half in, half out. I tried to pull out. He must be so miserable. Matter of fact, I took him down from the refrigerator thinking it had been a while since he used the litter box, and what goes in must come out. And I set him down there, and he did do number one and number two, and I lifted his tail up so it wouldn't rub up against the inside of the litter box. So he did his business. He does everything he can to avoid being on these floors. He is absolutely miserable. And my mother, the only reason why she's not more miserable is because she's on like 13 or 14 different kinds of medications, and I'm not on anything. You know, most people, by the time they are middle-aged, they're on all kinds of medicines and things, and I'm not. I mean, that should mean that you're healthier than you think you are. It should be a good thing, right? But apparently some of these meds make you unattractive to biting insects. Who knew? I didn't. Well, that was my update. I didn't want to leave you hanging since I made a previous video. So, yeah, nothing happened. And I don't know. Maybe I'll fall asleep and get arrested or something. It just seems kind of ironic. A route in life that I never thought I would go down. And again, I can't help but thinking that if 9/11 hadn't happened, it forced me to come in here. If I hadn't come back here, this all wouldn't be happening. You know, I just really kind of regret having spent all these years here. I mean, I don't regret taking care of my parents and having quality time with them, and certainly the cats that I had and stuff, but really, maybe it would have been better to just be homeless in the streets of California than to deal with all this. I don't know. I guess I'll never know. Life is all about the choices we make, and then you live with the choices you make. You know, you make your bed, you lay in it. As my family always said. Yes, you make your bed, you lay in it. Unless it's got food. Say goodbye. You're so pretty. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.